Hey my friends, this is Daniel Aldie, and today I want to talk with you about 10 signs that you're married to the wrong person. Now, before I start this video, I want to make sure that you get a couple things straight. First of all, I never recommend divorce unless a person cheats on you. Secondly, this is for two types of people. The first type of person is someone who's considering marriage, and the second type of person is someone who's already married and maybe they're struggling in the relationship, but they're willing to change. Now, if any or all of these signs happen to match your lifestyle, I want you to do something about it. I want you to make major changes, and I also want you to show this to your spouse. Now, obviously, you're gonna have to do a lot of work, so let me get right into it and share with you the 10 signs that you're married to the wrong person. The first sign is that they misunderstand you, but not just barely misunderstand you, I mean completely misunderstand you. In other words, they think you're one way, but you're a completely different person than they even expect. You basically aren't who they think you are. And what you can do about this is explain to them exactly who you are. Now, maybe you failed in the past to get them to understand who you are, and so you need different methods of communication. You need to speak their language so that they can better understand exactly who you are and what you can do to help them to love you even more. Now, you might be wondering, what do I mean by using different forms of communication? And what I'm basically saying is that many couples only communicate in one particular way. And so what I want you to do is to begin to switch it up. If you're just used to having verbal conversations, maybe now it's time to have written conversations. Or maybe if they like to go to the gym, but you absolutely hate going to the gym, maybe you should go to the gym with them and have a conversation while they're lifting weights. Like I said, you have to speak their language. You have to do what they like so that they can begin to understand exactly what you're like. If you really feel that your spouse doesn't understand who you are, be patient. Don't despair. Just explain yourself with love and start to show them that you really love them, and start showing them who you are through that love that you exemplify. The second sign that you're married to the wrong person is that they don't share your passions. And what this basically means is that every time you articulate or try to live out your passions or desires, they're just not feeling it. They don't understand it, and they don't even want to be a part of it. Now, it's not always the case that they're not interested. Maybe they don't understand it. For instance, if you like to play chess and they don't understand the game of chess, it doesn't mean that they hate your passion or that they hate your desire to play chess. It's just that they don't have the understanding. They're basically ignorant. They don't know what you know about the game of chess. Now, you might be saying, well, ignorant is a strong word, but ignorant is the right word, because ignorant means that they don't know. And if they aren't informed on your passion, then you need to tell them more about what it actually is. What I'm basically saying is to bridge that gap of understanding. They might think something is one way, but you have to explain to them that it's a completely different way. And how do you get them to understand what your passions are? Well, first, you have to understand what their passions are. Because if you take an interest in their passions, most likely they're gonna see that you love them, and they're gonna begin to take an interest in yours as well. The third sign that you're married to the wrong person is that they don't know your work. So for instance, you go to work every day and your spouse doesn't even know where you work. They don't even know who you work with. They don't even know what you do in your profession. Now you might be asking, well, why doesn't my spouse ever ask me questions? Why aren't they curious? Why don't they care? And the fact is that they do care, but they don't know how much you want them to actually care unless you express it. Now, some of you guys might be saying, well, I tell her all the time, or I tell them all the time, but they just don't listen. But what I'm saying to you is that you need to explain it in a way where they will listen. Maybe you're using logic when they need emotion. Maybe you're using facts and stats where they need stories. If you don't connect for understanding, then you're always gonna feel that disconnect. You're always gonna feel that disrespect, and you're always gonna feel like you don't belong in the house that you live in. So like I said, try to have that conversation. Ask your spouse, honey, do you ever wonder about what I do? Do you ever wonder about who I work with? Do you even know where I work? But don't say it in a disrespectful way. Say it in a way of love. Say it in a way of gentleness and patience, and explain it with passion. The fourth sign that you're married to the wrong person is a lack of support. Now, I know this is one of the biggest ones because a lot of people don't feel like they're getting the kind of support that they need from their husband or their wife. Now, the lack of support can come from many different angles. It could be financial, it could be sexual, It can be emotional. It could be spiritual. It could be mental. Whatever it is, you have to find a way so that you can gain the support from your lover and that you can be happy in the end. Now, if your spouse isn't making any effort to improve the situation, then you need to improve the situation yourself. You need to ask yourself, how can I offer more support to my spouse? Now, some of you guys might say, well, I cook and I clean and I do the laundry and I pay the bills and I do this. What more can I do? Now you might be saying, I do everything. I just want to give up. I'm done with this because this person takes it for granted. But what I'm saying is be patient. In fact, you should do even more because what you're doing is actually helping the household. Even though you may think that that person doesn't realize it, if you were gone, that person would realize instantly. Sometimes your spouse doesn't exactly know how to express themselves. Maybe they appreciate it deep down inside, but they just don't know how to say it. Therefore, you have to be patient. You have to give them a chance. You have to realize that even though the years might go by, that they really do love you, that they really do appreciate you. And sometimes you have to ask them for feedback for yourself. In other words, you need to engage in a different way. Instead of banging around dishes and stomping your feet, you need to address exactly what you do in a loving way, in a kind way, not in a passive-aggressive way, trying to show them what you actually do through negative emotions and actions. The fifth sign that you're married to the wrong person is you have completely different spirits. And what I'm basically saying is that you have a different vibe, you have a different religion, you have a different sense of spirituality that your husband or your wife doesn't even connect with. But even more, they don't want to connect with it. Maybe you're a different religion, maybe you have a different culture, and they don't want anything to do with it. Now, what that usually means is that they don't understand it, and even more, they may be intimidated by it. Now, you might be asking, how are they intimidated by my culture, by my family, by my tradition, by my religion? But the fact is that the confused mind says no. If someone is confused about something or someone, they're just gonna back away from it because they don't want to deal with that kind of situation. They don't want to immerse themselves in something that they don't know. Remember, your spouse could be practicing ignorance, and if you continue to insult their intelligence, they're going to back away from you. And so what you have to do is continue to practice your faith, practice your religion, practice your spirituality, and if it is right, and if it is the truth, then eventually it will win out in the end. Number 6 is that you disagree with money, or you don't even talk about it at all. Now, you and your spouse might have completely different thoughts, attitudes, emotions, and actions about your money, and even completely separate bank accounts. But don't let that stop you from talking about money. Like religion and spirituality, it's an area that can be improved and can be understood if you have the right patience and understanding. A lot of couples disagree about money without even understanding what they disagree about. What I'm basically saying is that if a couple decides to argue about money, it's not even about the specifics about what they do with their money. If they're earning or spending or giving or investing or even paying debts in a certain way. What really matters is what they're talking about and how they're talking about it. What really matters is not what you're saying or even how you're saying it. What actually matters is the general principles and thoughts that you hold about your money together as a unit. So for instance, if you're talking about saving $5,000 and investing $5,000, that doesn't matter. What matters is what your spouse thinks about saving and what your spouse thinks about investing. And once you take care of those core principles, then you could talk about the specifics and get down to the truth on paper and in your bank account. In short, what I'm basically saying is that you want to make sure that you have the same financial goals. Not the same financial approach, but the same financial goals. That overall picture that you want to have with your money. And if you can get your spouse to agree with it, then your finances will flourish. Now, the 7th sign that you're married to the wrong person is if they cheat on you. Now, this is the only reason why you should be permitted to divorce them. Because this is one of the most unforgivable acts that a person can commit in a marital relationship. Now it's up to you to decide exactly what to do in your relationship. If you decide to leave that person, then go ahead and do it. If you decide to stay, then make sure you forgive them fully and do whatever you can to mend that relationship. Now, if you've been cheated on or you are being cheated on, It's a heartbreaking experience, but you have to know what to do with it. And so I'm gonna leave that up to you to decide exactly where you want to go in your marriage. Number 8, they lack ambition. If your spouse is always telling you that you're working too hard, or that you're grinding too much, or that you're putting in too many hours, you need to figure out a way that you can deal with them successfully. Now, normally what most people do is that they tone it down a bit. Instead of working 80 hours, they might trim it down to 60 hours. Or if they work 60, they might trim it down to 40 and spend more time with the family. But if you're not like this and you know that you need to achieve more with the time that you're given in your life, then you need to make sure that your spouse understands that. Now, if they're still negative and unsupportive and disrespectful, you need to explain to them exactly how important your work actually is. And if they don't understand the purpose of your work, you have to explain to them the vision, because the vision is normally bigger. And if they can see the vision and the mission that you have behind that vision, eventually they're gonna let you do whatever you have to do in order to attain it. Number 9 is takers. All your spouse wants to do is to drain you. All they want to do is to take from you. All they want to do is receive, and they never give. Now, what do you do when this happens to you? Well, you explain to them that they're taking all the time. They may be offended, but you can't do anything about them being offended. You can't do anything about them being oversensitive. All you can do is support them. Make sure that they understand that you can't just love them through giving them things or just giving them money. And so what you've done basically up until this point is that you fed the beast. You've given them exactly what they wanted from you, and it's all they think they can get. Now you might be saying, wow, I deal with a taker. I deal with someone who just wants and wants and wants. All they want is my money. All they want is my time. All they want is what I have to offer. But what I'm telling you is that it's completely your fault. The reason why they take all the time is because you've actually given them. See, you've given without explaining exactly what you're giving them. And then all they expect to do now is to just receive it. And so what I'm basically saying is that they need to understand who you are, not just what you give, not just what you provide, not just what they can receive. Now, if you decide to do this, you're probably gonna face someone who's emotional, someone that's oversensitive, someone who's feeling like they're being pushed into a corner by you because they don't even expect this kind of response because they're so used to receiving something else from you. But if you learn how to confront your mentality, you'll be able to help them confront theirs. You'll be able to resolve the problem and work together and be able to take and receive respectively. Now, the 10th and final sign that you're married to the wrong person is that they don't care. You see, they start to disrespect you. They stop caring about you. They stop trying. And sometimes they even hate you. Now, if you feel a complete disconnect or inharmonious relationship with your partner, you need to confront this. Usually this is caused by weeks, months, or even years of neglect. And so the time that it took to neglect this person is going to be equivalent to about the same time it will take to heal this person. Keep in mind that you have to connect with this person in the same way that you connected with them the first time. There's a reason why you're married. There's a reason why you're in a relationship with this person. And you need to get back to establishing those grounds so that you can be in a harmonious relationship with your spouse. Now, even though you might think that your spouse doesn't care at all, the fact is that they actually do. But what needs to happen is that you need to change your mindset. You need to change the way you approach it. And you need to confront your ego so that this never happens again. Stop neglecting this relationship and do something about it so that you guys can live in a harmonious way. You might know exactly what you need to do to fix this relationship, but if your spouse doesn't feel like you care, they probably won't care as well. Remember, people don't care about what you know unless they know how much you care. So if you show them that you love them, eventually they will confess and help you realize that they really do love you, that they really do want to change, and they really do want to have a successful marriage with you. In summary, I say all of that in order to say this: you're actually married to the right person. You just need to know how to deal with it. You need to learn how to deal with them and who they are so that they can understand who you are and so that you can flourish together forever like salt and pepper. There you go, my friends. I've given you 10 reasons why you're married to the right person instead of the wrong person. So start to see it in a positive light and start taking notes on what I'm saying so that you can change your relationship. Thank you for watching this video, my friends. Please comment in the section below and let me know exactly what you're going through in your marriage. And please subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you next time.